When Jim Johnson became the CEO of Fannie Mae following David Maxwell, he and his leadership team hired a consulting firm to conduct a technology audit. The lead consultant, Bill Kelvey, used a 4 level ranking with 4 being cutting edge and 1 being stone age. Fannie Mae ranked only a 2. So, following the principle of first who is another concept coined by Jim Collins that I've covered in another video. So please go and check it out. So, following the principle of first who, Kelvy was hired to move the company ahead. When Kelvy came to Fannie Mae in 1990, the company lagged about 10 years behind Wall Street in the use of technology. Over the next 5 years, Kelvy systematically took Fannie Mae from a 2 to a 3.8 on the 4 point ranking. He and his team created over 300 computer applications, including sophisticated analytical programs to control the $600 billion mortgage portfolio, online data warehouses covering 60 million properties, and streamlined workflows, significantly reducing paper and clerical efforts. We moved technology out of the back office and harnessed it to transform every part of the business, said Kelvy. We created an expert system that lowers the cost of becoming a homeowner. Lenders using our technology reduced the loan approval time from 30 days to 30 minutes and lowered the associated costs by over $1,000 per loan. To date, the system has saved home buyers nearly $4 billion, billion with a B. Notice that Fannie Mae transition began in 1981 with the arrival of David Maxwell, yet the company lagged behind in the application of technology until the early 1990s. Yes, technology became the prime importance to Fannie Mae, but after it discovered its hedgehog concept and after it reached breakthrough. Technology was a key part of what Fannie Mae leaders call the second wind of the transformation and acted as an accelerating factor. Today, I want to talk to you about this beautiful concept called the technology accelerator. Now, again, coined by Jim, one of my favorite authors. If you haven't read his books, you have to go and get it. And I'm going to keep doing deep dives into Jim's work because that is one of my favorite foundational pieces of work in business building. So, what's the idea behind this is quite simple, that technology of any kind does not change business, right? You have to figure out what business you are in and then use technology as part of your advantage to build that thing out, right? To build, to essentially speed it up, to leverage it, to reduce costs and all of those things. So technology is an accelerator of the skills that you have, of the business that you are in, rather than being the business itself, right? The technology would not solve your business problems. It will not create the product itself. It will not sell the product itself. It will not attract the right people to you. It will not keep the culture of the business intact, and so on and so forth, right? Technology is only going to reflect what is within the business and what is working within the business, and it will only accelerate that process. And that is what I really wanted to discuss within this concept. And why I wanted to discuss this concept is because today's time, technology of anything, right? We just think that technology is the solution to our problems, right? If you use internet, it's the solution to our problems. If you use AI, it's the solution to our problems. If you use mobile phones, that's the solution to our problems. But it's not. Those are just accelerators of the work, of the concepts, of the fundamentals that we've developed, right? The whole idea of using this camera today is only makes sense when I got this, when I got clear on the idea that I wanted to share this thing with the world, that these are the foundational blocks, building blocks of business, and those building blocks that build a strong business also build a strong life, also build a strong relationship, also build a strong healthy routine, and so on, right? So all of those things, once it after 10 years of researching, of development, of just reading, of trying out a lot of things and failing, I've done a lot of experiments and then I've failed at them, or rather I consider them failures because they did not bring the expected result that I was looking at, but they did bring results at the same time. So I learned from them, and now after all of this, now I've realized that it's a very simple thing, that if I have the right strategy in place, if I have the right foundational blocks in place, then whatever I do, it's gonna work. It can take 10 days, it could take 1 month, it could take 1 year, it could take 5 years, but it will work, right? The only thing that I can add is leverage on top of it, right? So if I add capital as leverage, it will speed up. If I add time as leverage, that means I put in more time of myself or the team that I built. That adds leverage, and that makes the process faster again. Or I use technology as leverage, which is what I'm doing with this video right now, right? So if I'm building that leverage on top of building that holistic view that, hey, this is what I am meant to do, and this is what I'm going to be doing for the next leftover life that I have, that makes an impact, that creates an impact. And that's what we're talking, that Jim is talking about in this concept as well, that do not depend on technology to change your business overnight, right? Technology is only a tool that's going to accelerate the work that you've put in, accelerate the hedgehog concept that you've put in. Hedgehog concept is again this idea that Jim had developed, which is essentially saying that you need to figure out what your business essentially does and figure out the best thing that you can do for the world. And once you figure it out, then that becomes your hedgehog concept, and you just have to be super disciplined about doing that again and again and again and again, and over time it will build up, right? So that's the idea of this particular concept as well, technology as an accelerator. Now, why I'm so passionate about all of this is because most people, there's like a huge amount of there's so many myths that we are surrounded by, and there's like uh, such bad thinking around this term technology and around this term of making money, when essentially money is just a medium of exchange. What is the medium of exchange for? It's a medium of exchange for service. What is the service that you're providing to the world? What is the service that you're providing to me, right? For example, if someone comes and cleans my house, right, that is the service that they are providing for me. Now, how much is that worth to me? That is what's going to determine the price that I'm going to pay for it, right? I can pay I don't know, $5,000 for it, or I could pay $500 for it, or I could pay $100 for it, depending on what I'm getting cleaned, how much effort it takes, and what is the competition around it as well, right? So if I use a vacuum cleaner, probably I have to spend $50,000 for it, right? Again, this is in rupees, but in dollars it will come down to around 5,000 approximate. Oh, sorry, 5,000 is too much. That'll be around $500 or something, right? So $500 is the amount that I might pay for a vacuum cleaner, to get like a brand new vacuum cleaner, and then I clean it with myself, right? So the whole idea is that I've invested those $500, but it's a one-time investment, and I don't have to repeat it again and again and again. But on the other side, what if I hire someone to do it, right? In India, it's quite possible. In US and developing nations, it's still difficult. And that's why the house help over there becomes really expensive compared to vacuum cleaner. The house help would be so much more expensive because there are too many people offering those services. There are fewer people offering those services in US, UK, and developed countries, or whatever, the developed nations. And over here in India, it's the opposite, where there are too many people offering these services and lesser houses where we can accept it. And that's why we have a very cheap, compared to like a vacuum cleaner, it just becomes super cheap. And it's also much better because a vacuum cleaner is something that I have to spend my time on. Rather, over here I can leverage that time, that 1 hour of the day, I save that and I create more videos, and those videos kind of generate me additional income and become my assets. And that's like a better, more productive way to use my income, right? So that's like one way to think about it, where the money over here is essentially an accelerator, right? It's essentially allowing me to buy that technology, and that technology itself is an accelerator, speeds up the act that I'm going to do. But the act remains the same, right? I'm still cleaning my home, right? And over here also, it's the same thing, that if I'm in a business of giving out loans to a specific demographic, then the technology will allow me to process that loan faster, see if that person is the right fit, and also collect the loan payments, the EMIs, faster as well as more efficiently, and reduce paper wastage and all of those wastages that happens. But it does not change the core business, right? Using internet, using all of these things, it just reduces a lot of clutter, it reduces a lot of friction, but it does not change the main activity of actually giving out the loan to that demographic. And that's what this whole thing is about. Figure out your hedgehog concept, which is what does the business do really well, and then figure out the technology that accelerates that process, right? Accelerates that development. It again, technology is just one aspect of the accelerators. It could also be capital, right? If you put in more money, it will accelerate the thing. But over here, we're talking specially about technology, because what happens is, at times when there are new technology comes in to the world, the companies are really clueless. How do we use it, right? How do we use this particular piece of technology to our business, and is that technology even worth the investment that it requires, right? So today we see in 2025, we see that with AI, right? AI is literally the buzzword around the world, and every month, I don't know, every week we get like a new update. There's like everyone's just going off the charts. But most of the companies, most people, most creators don't know how to use AI in their workflow, right? And the simple reason is this, that they haven't figured out what they do, or they haven't thought about it this way, maybe, that what is it that they are doing, which is the hedgehog concept. What is it that they are doing that is better than anyone else in the world, or it's different and unique than anyone else in the world, and then using technology to amplify it, to speed up the process, right? So most of the technology that we have today is essentially just that. It just speeds up the process. Now, don't get confused that it is true all over, right? There are technologies, pieces of technologies that will disrupt you, that will disrupt the business. And when that's the case, then it's not an accelerator. That's the case, then you need to really rethink your business overall. For example, when internet came about, right? When internet came about, it was a decentralized media. Everyone could read stuff online immediately. Newspapers were the first ones, the print media was the first ones to take that hit, because essentially everything that you would read in a newspaper tomorrow was already up online today, right? As it was happening real time. And so no one was essentially buying a newspaper, and the newspaper circulation is declining overall. And the simple reason is because everyone can access it on these screens, on phones, on laptops, and whatnot. So that is a major threat to the news paper business. And so over there, even if they adopt technology, and which they will have to, they will still have to think of a better uh, business model, or how do we integrate it, and so on and so forth. So they will have to literally rethink their business, like what is it that they're doing which is uniquely better than the rest of the world, even with this new technology, which is the internet, in place, right? So once they figure it out, then probably they'll be able to figure out and monetize it again. But that, in that case, in this example, maybe the newspapers, the time for newspapers as a business is gone, right? Or maybe they are only accepted in niche categories, and so on. So what I'm trying to say is, don't take it as a complete, thing that like technology is an accelerator in all the aspects. No, there may be some technologies that can and might disrupt your entire business, like what happened in the case of internet, right? And similarly, now in the case of AI, it's happening to Google, with chat gpt coming in, and with the all of these perplexity coming in. What's going to happen is, all of these new technologies, which are essentially taking us away from search, and we are essentially getting our answers over there, we don't really need to go back to search and pick through 10 options and select one out of those. We are essentially just asking these chatbots or whatever AI thingies, and we're just asking them what is going to happen, the LLMs that we have, and we're just going to be asking them, getting the answers, going our way, right? We don't really care if the Google's ad revenue is dropping. We don't really care if Google was a piece of technology. So now essentially the entire business is shifting for Google. They can't use AI to accelerate their business right now. What they need to do is to figure out how they kind of fit into the new world as the wave of technology is kind of essentially changing the realms, right? So all of this is really important when you think about it, right? Because only once you've thought about it, then only then can you actually go on and find those answers. Because other than that, it becomes very difficult to even figure out the next steps in the process for yourself. So this is what I'm trying to explain and share with all of these concepts, because all of these concepts, these frameworks, these mental models that we're discussing one by one by one, they add up to build a strong foundation and a strong business overall, right? Not all things are foundational things are foundational because they don't change over time, and then everything on top of it is ways to think about different situation, ways to think about different decisions that you need to take. And once you figure out what other decisions need to be taken, so in this case, in Google's case, they really need to take a decision as to how they're gonna improve search, how they're gonna fit into this new world of AI, where everyone is just like searching and chatting and getting their answers from there. So how do they kind of fit into this new world? And when they figure it out, maybe they'll continue to grow. But if they don't figure it out, then it's gonna be big trouble for them, right? Microsoft, on the other hand, really figured out, okay, hey, like our core competency is operating systems, right? Our core competency is working with businesses and managing all of their workload, right, with Azure. So once they did that, they really invested heavily in OpenAI, because they figured out that, hey, this is the next wave of technology that's gonna come, and that's gonna change the way we work, we operate life. And this new technology also will require a new OS, and essentially a new way of working with the computer. And that's why they really invested heavily in OpenAI and are getting the results from that. So it's just a great way to see how in one place Microsoft is using this technology of AI to accelerate, because they are staying relevant to the times, and over time it might become, it already is, but rather than Android, maybe maybe Windows becomes the platform of choice for people, right? Right now, most of our mobile devices essentially run on Android, and of course iOS. But now maybe it will become Windows and iOS, right? And Android slowly goes out of fashion because Google is not able to fund it, or Google is not able to make money out of it overall. So just these things, you have to analyze the picture, what's happening, and then see what is applicable over there. And that is the beauty of it. That is the beauty that you need to crack. It's essentially a puzzle. It's essentially a game of puzzles, and you need to see what things fits in which place, and see how that the collision of two things, three things, four things takes the situation forward. So over here, Jim has really talked about technology as an accelerator in a beautiful way. I'm gonna read out a couple of more things. When used right, technology becomes an accelerator of momentum, not a creator of it. Again, this is the important and the most important part of this. When used right, technology becomes an accelerator of the momentum, not a creator of it. The good to great companies never began their transitions with pioneering technology, for the simple reason that you cannot make good use of technology until you know which technologies are relevant. And which are those? Those and only those that link directly to the three intersecting circles of the hedgehog concept. So he's saying that the good to great companies, the companies that were doing okay, but then they essentially break through because of their excellent execution and these frameworks that he's talked about. So when they figured out the hedgehog concept, which is what are the things that they are best at, uniquely best at in the world, and what drives their economic engine, and what they are passionate about. Once they figure this out, they apply technology as an accelerator of the momentum. So they already built some momentum through the flywheel that they were running in the company, and then through technology they infused more momentum or accelerated that momentum to scale it, right? Technology without a hedgehog concept and without the discipline to stay within the three circles cannot make a company great. This is equally important. Technology without a hedgehog concept, clear hedgehog concept, and without the discipline to stay within the three circles cannot make a company great. One of the consistent themes, said Jim Erickson and Patty Griffin Jensen, program directors, is technology, change, and the connection between the two is essentially repeated again and again, right? So they're essentially doing the same thing. %. This is a Nucor executive talking about. Nucor is the company that creates steel. So 20% of our success is the new technology that we embrace, but 80% of our success is the culture of our company. The culture of our company, and of course, what they do in the company. If you had the opportunity to sit down and read all 2000 pages of a transcript from Good to Great interviews, you'd be struck by the utter absence of the talk about competitive strategy. Yes, they did talk about the strategy, and they did talk about performance, and they did talk about becoming the best, and they even talked about winning, but they never talked in reactionary terms and never defined their strategies principally in response to what others were doing. They talked in terms of what they were trying to create and how they were trying to improve relative to an absolute standard of excellence. So this is again, this is just a feature of good to great companies, not really relevant to the particular topic or the concept that we're talking about over here. But this is important to understand that not talking in reactionary terms to what other people are doing is important, because technology creates this buzz, this media havoc, which takes a toll on executives, which takes a toll on you as a founder, because that essentially means that rather than taking a step back, thinking about the big picture, understanding how things are going to pan out, you're essentially becoming reactionary to what news you're getting, what new AI programs are coming in, and so on and so forth. And because of that, you take short term decisions and not really long term decisions. Short term decisions are essentially decisions that just work well, they look right in the short run, but in the long run, in 5 years, 10 years, it will pass and it won't even make sense, right? So you have to take a step back, you have to analyze the situation properly through these mental models and frameworks, and see if you get a better result, a different answer. And if you do get a different answer, then find if there's like a one way to go or the other way to go, or could you combine the two things together, right? So you just have to take a better decision by using these tools. Those who turn good into great are motivated by a deep creative urge and an inner compulsion for sheer unadulterated excellence for their own sake. Those who build and perpetuate mediocrity, in contrast, are motivated more by fear of being left behind. So mediocre people and mediocre companies essentially work from a place of fear, and because of that, they are always fearful about people leaving the company. They're fearful about the new technologies that is upcoming, and so on and so forth. That, like, everything that changes around them makes them more fearful, and that's not a great way to live. That's not a great way to build. That's not a great way to work with other people, right? And that's the difference that Jim is saying, that once you understand this concept of technology accelerators overall, then you can actually apply it to broader ecosystem. That things there are things that will build your momentum, there are things that will drown your momentum, there are things that will drown the downfall, like the business will collapse because of those things. And your job as an executive, as a manager, as a founder, is to figure out what are the things that are going to change due to this new situation that we are in. Either it could be political, it could be economical, it could be technological, right? And so you have to figure out how this kind of affects the business, and take a step from there. Take a step from there if we need to adopt the technology to become better, if we need to raise more funds to become more stronger, and so on and so forth, right? So all of this is really, it requires you to have a holistic picture, and also have that place to think and to really see the world in a multidimensional way, and not just in one perspective that you're seeing in the newspapers or in the articles and YouTube videos that you get, right? So I hope you liked it. It's a really good concept to understand. Short concept, very simple to understand, but really important to apply, because we do all respond, and we don't respond, actually, we react in the case of these chaotic times to the technological changes, and we work out of fear, and that's not a great way to work at all. So that's why I leave you here. If you like this, if you like more mental models, if you like more frameworks, if you like more concepts, business strategy concepts, then please do follow, and put down in the comments what did you like about this, how are you applying it in your business, as well as any other mental models, concepts, frameworks that you would like me to cover, because I would happily cover them pretty soon, right? Till then, see you. Bye bye.